Welcome everyone to Male Fuzz TV. I am Peter, that is Tara, and we are going to talk about Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 1 Episode 8. It is called The Elysian Kingdom. So full spoilers for the episode as always. And I'm going to get something out of the way right now. As apparently so is one of your animals. But this is not my kind of episode, by and large. But I will say that I am very glad that this show is willing to do this kind of episode, because it's exactly the kind of thing that the original series would do. Now, admittedly, the original series did it a lot because they were reusing costumes and sets from other shows because they were trying to save money, whereas this is more of an intentional, we're going to do it once because we've got a reason to do it, which is fine. But, so I appreciate that this episode exists, but it is definitely not to my tastes. How did you feel about the episode?
I liked it.
You almost said no. You almost said I agree. You were going to say
yeah, but
I agree.
Don't like. I agree that you think that.
That is
I don't agree though. Like
so
I don't hate, because this reminds me of, you know, those kinds of episodes in the original series, and this is very original series. Basically got changed for the other series, so they're always still there. They just became holodeck episodes, and instead of the godlike beings being every other civilization they met, it all got turned into Q. Not that there aren't any other godlike creatures they come across every now and then, or even spatial anomalies that are actually sentient. That still happens, but yeah, this one feels very original series in that it's some sort of like a nebula, like gaseous thing out there that's also godlike, and instead of a holodeck, like it's just making the crew dress up into these period fantasy characters.
To be fair though, just to interject, I don't think the modern shows have had their equivalent of the holodeck or the way the original series did it. You know, they've not really had that in the modern shows.
No, not
like,
the modern shows,
no,
but I mean
like
like the 90s ones.
Yeah, I agree. Next Gen kind of replaced it with the holodeck, and that was all. And people joke about how, oh, the holodeck goes wrong twice a season, kind of thing.
Yeah, not just Next Gen. I mean, honestly, all the way through in the 90s shows.
I've only watched one episode of Deep Space Nine so far, so I haven't got to any of those yet, but I look forward to them.
There's plenty.
You know, I think that's maybe a crutch of, like, because they had to do 26 episodes a season back then, so I almost don't blame them for having a couple of those a season, whereas they only have 10 episodes of this a season, so they don't have
if you didn't hate the Mirror Universe already, you will after Deep Space Nine. So they tap that well a lot.
Oh, I mean, I don't hate the Mirror Universe. As long as it's a good story to do with the Mirror Universe, I'm okay with it.
I'm mixed on the ones on Deep Space Nine, and let me get this straight. It is my favorite series, but it is the Mirror Universe episodes are pretty rough.
Okay. I mean, I was very mixed on Discovery's implementation of the Mirror Universe, so
let's get back on track.
That was a fairly civil way of just saying that.
I like this episode. I actually thought the comedy really worked in this, which is something the modern Treks I think have not done very well, with the exception obviously of Lower Decks, which is a straight up comedy Star Trek series. I think the modern shows, who I think all have the same writers as Strange New Worlds, have not done so well with comedy. They tried a little bit in like early Discovery, but like they've gone full drama since then. So
melodrama, one might even say.
Maybe a little bit, but I still like the show. Anyway, I think Anson Mount is like the worst in this. I know he's like hamming it up, but I think he's doing it a bit too much in this.
I'll be honest, I thought the way he seems to love playing this coward character was quite endearing. Like I was like enjoying watching him enjoy doing this silly character.
He definitely seemed like he was having fun.
Yeah.
But he came off as like the weakest to me as far as acting in this.
Yeah, so I should explain what the episode is for context here. So the episode is it's one of these episodes where the entire crew gets taken over and they all start playing characters. In the context of this episode, it's a story that Mbenga reads his daughter, this fantasy fairy tale style story. And then after they get trapped in this gaseous nebula, some godlike being has turned all the crew members, everyone except Mbenga, and also later we find out Hammer, who makes his glorious return this episode. They're unaffected, and they still know who they are, but everyone else is playing the characters, the roles that they are from this fantasy book. And they're still in the Enterprise, but the Enterprise has been sort of set dressed to have like vines and, you know, regal fantasy style set dressings here or there, which works in the context of this is effectively a child's play scenario, but they're turned their environment into their imagination. That makes sense to me, because you could argue, well, if it's that powerful being, shouldn't they just snap their fingers and, oh, they're actually in a castle, they're actually in whatever. But I think this is inherently a little bit more fun, actually, because you get to sort of turn parts of the ship into like, oh, this is where the evil queen is, you know, which turns out to be Uhura later in the episode, kind of thing. So you've got that. So that's what the episode is. It's him trying to... It's Mbenga who's the main character of the episode, which is notable. He gets his own episode here to be the star of the show. And Hammer gets to ultimately be second by the time he shows up, which is kind of neat because he's been mostly absent for the last few episodes.
I know.
So... And, you know, if I have, like, some, like, objective critiques, because, you know, I think part of my... Boredom sounds harsh, but, like, you know, part of my, like, disinterest in this type of trope means that ultimately some of my subjective taste here is what's going to be getting in the way. If I have objective critiques of the episode, it would be, one, it's painfully obvious this is coming from the daughter right as soon as it happens, and it's a little bit frustrating hearing like Hammer thinks it's coming from Mbenga, and admittedly Hammer doesn't know about his daughter, so it doesn't make the character look stupid, but it's just frustrating from an audience perspective a little bit. I think it's like, oh, come on, this is obviously something to do with the daughter because it's the story she likes. Like, you know, like, come on, let's get to that point, please. And I will say the resolution and how it sort of kind of wraps up his entire daughter thing does feel a little easy and convenient as a sort of write out to me, as opposed to being something that's a bit more challenging and interesting. But that's something that maybe could be debated. I think the playfulness of the episode is endearing. I like that Ortega's gets to do a lot more in this episode as kind of the bodyguard of the king.
She was funny. Yeah,
she's good. And Mbenga, of course, is the king, and this, which again that was what immediately made me go, oh, it's the daughter, because the daughter's made her father the king. That makes complete sense. Pike is this cowardly character who's serving the king but ultimately flips sides later on. Spock's an evil wizard who works for the evil queen, who's as I mentioned, Uhura. Una is like this like badass archer character who protects the forest, even though there's not a forest on a ship, but you know, I know that part.
I saw trees.
And this is just for the comedy, I think, of the fact that she's usually this tough hard ass all the time, that they put her in like the fairy tale princess costume with the big skirt, and she's like, and a poodle and she's constantly being all like, oh, like, you know, and stuff. So like, yeah, obviously this is an episode, and it is something. I mean, I do like the technique of having the characters or the actors play different versions of the characters
against their type,
because that's something that, you know, other shows I've loved have done quite a bit. You know, some of the most fun episodes of Buffy and Angel are the ones where
the Naked Now.
Or the Naked Now from Star Trek, yeah. But there's...
Just don't make it your episode 2.
Yeah, episode 2 is a weird... Yeah, you have to get to know the characters first for it to matter, you know? Like, the reason why it's so fun is because you know the characters so well that you know...
It's great on a rewatch, though.
Yeah, how out of character they're being. But, you know, like Tabula Rasa and Buffy, where they all like, lose their memories, or alternatively in Angel, where they all get reverted to their teenage selves. Which is especially funny given that one of them is a vampire who's been alive for 200 years, so like his teenage self is like from a different era, so there's a bit of, you know, fun with that. Or anything where you've got characters swapping bodies where they get to play each other or whatever, you know. I am a fan of this trope, and it is something that belongs in a show, any sort of Star Trek show, because it's exactly the sort of thing that they can do well. So, I have mixed feelings on the episode because it's just not to my taste as much because of all the fantasy talk and all the types of stuff that it's dealing with. But I appreciate that it exists. I appreciate the novelty of some of these actors doing these very different versions. I didn't have a problem with Peck in this. I thought it was kind of funny, his stuff.
He was kind of funny, yeah.
But like I say, the resolution I do think is a bit of a cop out to the story with Mbenga and his daughter. That feels, it's a bit of a leap for me that he is just so quickly ready to entrust his daughter over to this godlike being that he's just met, and it's not like this godlike being is showing any concern for anyone else on the ship other than his daughter.
Yep, I did think about that, yeah. Like, he sure is quick to be like, okay, you can have her.
Yeah. So, I would critique that.
Hopefully she's okay.
Well, I think the writers realise this, and that's why she immediately comes back as an adult and says, oh yeah, because of the time difference, I've already grown up, and I'm here to tell you, yeah, I'm having a great life, everything's great, you made the right choice. It's almost like they're trying to just, like, tell the audience, no, you made the right choice, like, there's nothing to worry about here.
Yeah, she basically just has an ascension at the end of the episode, and it's become whatever this godlike being is, this mist outside that looks like a nebula.
She's left this mortal coil, and
yeah, because it's her body that's broken, but her consciousness can be saved, and she can live a happy life in fantasy world, whatever she wants to be, with this childlike nebula outside.
I think the confliction of this choice as well comes from the idea that, when he's making this choice, he kneels down to her and explains to her the story, right? And the idea that the king has to, like, give up something that he's kind of clinging to. Mm-hmm. And the problem is that I don't necessarily know if I look at his story with his daughter as him clinging to someone that he should accept is already gone. I kind of see it, I kind of felt it as more of a, no, this is a hopeful thing where one day he can save her. Like, this didn't feel unhealthy to me, what he was doing before.
It is a bit like she's gone to heaven, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, because she gets to, basically he accepts that she died because of this disease that was uncurable, and has allowed her to have a guaranteed heaven instead of, like, an afterlife that may or may not be there.
It's also especially weird to me that this comes just a few episodes after he got really close with a cure from that other civilization that had something that would fix her, and I'm like, well,
I thought that was odd too. Yeah,
you already know there's something out there that could fix her, so I don't think he's, like, being unreasonable as a father and a doctor, the way he's prolonging it and, making sure he's got a chance to save her. Like, I don't think it's that bad.
I also really like that about his character. Like, I like that he had this dark secret he had to keep hidden from everybody. Like, he's everybody sees him and he's just the good doctor, but really he's kind of mischievous and deceptive in order to have this selfish reason of keeping a soul on board. It's not supposed to be there.
But it's all sympathetic. Like, none of it's,
Yes.
Like,
I know, I'm making it sound evil. It's not evil.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd use
But I like that, though. Like, I like when characters are doing things off book, I
don't know if I would use the phrase dark secret. I feel like that implies sinister stuff. But it's not sinister. It is a dark secret.
He's not supposed to have her there.
It's not a dark secret. It's
It already caused an incident on the Enterprise.
It did. Although I wouldn't blame her being there for this incident. This is the godlike being's fault. All this is going on.
Of course.
So, yeah.
Well, we don't know. Like, maybe they would have left the ship alone if the godlike being was like, none of these people have an imagination worthy enough for me.
But would you still blame him for that, though? Like, even if that is the only reason why it came after the ship? It's not their fault it came after.
The daughter's not supposed to be there.
This is bullshit.
Yeah. I'm surprised every time she, like, beams back, the computer is not like intruder alert.
I'm sure he's rigged it. He's rigged the system to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So I do have some problems with this resolution, and it feels a little bit easy, and almost that they're.
It feels easy, and it feels too soon. I don't know. I wanted this to be his thing, his constant, like, drive of trying to, like, find a cure.
And I think you add on that feeling that the writers are, like, trying to cover themselves by having her show up again as an adult to, like, just sort of like, oh, now no one can there's less to critique now because we've kind of neatly tied it in a bow. It almost just annoys me a bit more because I'm like, I can see what you're doing here. I can see through the I can see between the lines, if you will.
It is nice that, at least Mbenga has that reassurance, though, because I do like his character a lot. So at least he doesn't have that torture of, did I do the right thing?
I do think there's some interesting...
She seems to be happy.
Yeah, I do think there's some interesting things like maybe we could do with him now, where him having this memory of effectively losing a child could inform his character going forward, and then maybe we'll do interesting things with him in season 2. I don't expect to get too much now this season because there's only 2 episodes left, and this is probably his big moment of the season.
Yeah, I suspect.
Yeah, but it's interesting. I mean, we have to do the Gorn as well. We still got the Gorn. We've got 2 episodes left. It's Gorn time, baby. It's Gorn time.
Be the big finale.
Yeah, it'll be episode 10. Unless they're doing like a 2-parter, it'll be episode 10.
I don't know what's coming up next. I didn't get the trailer yet. Not that I watched them. I watched this one, but for this episode, I just saw it. I saw a fantasy dress, and I'm like, what is coming up? I didn't click on them, but I saw the fantasy thing. Yeah. And I went, what is this?
I didn't see any trailers, so when he walked on that bridge and everyone had turned into it, I just had this moment of, oh, it's this type of episode. Like, it was like, we're doing this.
I know you don't watch Lower Decks, but in the recent season, there was a reveal about the chief engineer that he comes from like a fantasy planet, basically, where they... it's basically just a colony of humans found a planet that had legitimate dragons, and they are like, well, we want to live in forever Ren Fair. So they call them like the dilithium crystals or whatever, dragon's breath. Stuff like they all have fantasy names and stuff like that. Hearing
you describe this, you can tell that Lower Decks is in some way inspired by Rick and Morty, because this is a Rick and Morty premise. Like the Purge Planet.
Yeah, I mean, the showrunner was a writer for Rick and Morty, so
well,
checks out.
Yeah, okay, I'm even less surprised.
But yeah, it's a very good show. It might be my actual favorite of Star Trek, but you have to have like a lot of love for the whole franchise in order to enjoy Lower Decks for how good it really is. And in any case, so I was thinking, well, maybe they're going to make that planet, maybe they're going to that planet or something, and that's what this is, because I think it's all canonical still. I mean, Wisteria, I think is the name of the planet. I can't remember.
I mean, there's being canonical, and then there's just being, well, we're not going to like do anything that contradicts it, but we're never going to go into anything that show brings up.
But the show brings up everything that has happened in Star Trek already. So.
Oh yeah, but it brings up stuff that was already in the other shows, so that's fair game. But anything that it comes up specifically in Lower Decks, I'll be surprised if the other shows actually ever go and do anything with it.
Yeah, we'll see.
It's a step.
Maybe there really is a Pac-led war.
Yeah, like, and I mean this in the nicest possible way, but it kind of is, because it's the animated show. It's kind of a stepchild of the universe, and that, like, yeah, it'll be well loved.
Yeah, I know a lot of Trek fans who actually don't like Lower Decks at all, because they're like, it just doesn't feel like it fits in the rest of Star Trek. So, because it's so referential, and it is a comedy, and they just don't think comedy and Star Trek mix. I tell them, watch Trouble with Tribbles.
Yeah, but I would say the short they did with the Tribbles is one of the best things that they've done with modern Trek.
Oh yeah, it was so funny.
Like, I'll take that short over Discovery any day. Yeah. Any day.
That was a good short, yeah. Definitely the best one, I think. That one and the one where they go in the far, far future was pretty good too.
Oh yeah, the man who falls in love with a computer.
Yeah, that's a good one.
In the future, that was good. Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, who have I not mentioned yet, character wise? Chapel, she's got her hair tied up as opposed to being down. That's like her.
Well, she's kind of like a witch. She's like making potions and stuff in a cauldron when he walks into the sick bay.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that all the ship stuff still works. It's just that none of the characters know what it is or how to use it, except from Mbenga and Hammer. Because probably the most fun moment is when Hammer pretends he's doing a magic trick and just like teleports them to the cargo bay.
Abracadabra.
Yeah. That's fine. I mean, Hammer had a bit more of a personality, I'd say, in this episode.
I mean, he's always shown little bits and pieces of it. Yeah. Like, he was pretty cheeky in the Uhura episode.
You get more of it here, though, for sure. There's lots of little bits, like just little bits of flair where he's like getting into it. Like when he's doing the abracadabra stuff, like he's really like, oh, he's not as like, I don't know, monotone, I guess, as like maybe you think from like just other snippets of him where he's very serious about what he's doing. He's got a bit of a snark to him in a way that makes him different to some of the other, like, you know, makes him different from La'an, who's like the more straight-laced, you know.
I definitely like the moment a lot where, again, he shows why not having a visual spectrum that we do is an advantage to him, because he's basically soldering something and tells the rest, don't look at it because you'll go blind, but he's able to do it no problem.
Now, obviously, like, you can control everything in visual, and it's also just probably a visual effect rather than actually being something that was working anyway. But it did make me laugh a little bit. He says, don't look at it, it'll make you go blind, and then we get a close-up of what he's doing. Like, obviously, it's not going to affect us, but it just made me laugh, like, just the irony of it.
Maybe he did it on purpose to make himself seem so, like, this is his Scotty maneuver. Just being like, oh, you guys can't look, but that's why I'm so great.
Yes. I'll take 40 hours normally, but I'll do it in 10. I'll actually take 7. He's going to have a break in the middle and have a...
Yeah, that's how all, like, construction workers are, too. So.
Well, Georgie's not on Next Gen. He's honest to a fault, that man.
Yeah, to a fault.
To a fault.
Scotty calls him out on it, too.
Yeah, he's like, what are you doing? You gotta make yourself look great. You gotta be a miracle worker. Yeah. I think you know, there's lots of little moments in this, and effectively when you have an episode like this where you're dealing with all these actors playing these different versions of themselves, that's essentially what you're there to enjoy. You're there to enjoy all the silly little moments of different things they do. I mean, there's a couple of things obviously at the start and the end, like you know, Ortega's saying, are you gonna say the thing? And he's like, hit it. And she's like, I'm hitting it. Nothing's happening. You know, but maybe if you don't like Pike, you wouldn't find that amusing. I don't know.
Look, it's not that I don't like Pike. I think he's fine. I just don't. He's not my favorite, you know.
That's fair. That's fair.
There are little bits and pieces of his performance where I'm just like, this is great, loved it, perfect guy for this. And then sometimes just a little, I don't know, he's just too stepdad.
Yeah. He loves playing the coward. Although I thought Ahura was really good doing the evil, like, queen thing. Like she's doing this, like, she's got the silver, like,
she's covered in spikes.
Yeah,
but, like, glamorous spikes.
What do you even call that thing? This is just because only ever evil queens that wear it. Like, but it's like just finger.
Like they're like claws.
Yeah,
but not like the nails. It's like a ring that extends out.
Yes. I mean, it's the way you're saying
they're spiky thimbles.
You're almost describing Freddy Krueger the way you're saying it, but yes, I know what you mean. Like finger gloves. It's like just individual finger gloves that have got spikes, but they're very like glamorous and bejazzled and like lots of silver and sparklies on them.
Yeah, she's got the same thing with her crown is going on.
Yeah, and she's laughing maniacally. I have to imagine that as a group of actors, they enjoy doing an episode like this because they get to just do something completely different and silly.
Yeah.
So I imagine they were having a good time.
I bet Patrick Stewart would have loved this.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Because he is, you know, diehard theater guy, and he loves to overdo it.
He's an actor.
He would have killed it in this episode.
Oh yes. I'm surprised he didn't get a cameo just for shut Patrick Stewart out of the set. We'll have him for an episode. He'll just show up randomly during this episode for no reason.
It's godlike being, right? They can do whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, some of them less than others. Like Spock's got this. Actually, Joe, see when Spock first shows up with the long hair and the cloak, I was like, bit Marcus Cole looking there, Spock.
You look like an elf.
He's a bit Marcus Cole looking with that hair and the outfit. Not gonna lie.
Just so much better though.
Yeah. He's even got a pike, so there's no Pikeal envy going on.
He has a pike?
Captain Pike.
Oh, Captain Pike. Stupid.
Come on, it was a joke. Admittedly,
that was dumb.
The last 20 seconds made no sense unless you've watched Babylon 5, and specifically our Babylon 5 reviews. But you know what? Like, I think it was worth the 26. So we'll move on now for everyone else's sake. But that was gold. It was comedy gold.
Mm-hmm.
It was, you know it was. So, yes. Anything else you'd like to talk about in the episode?
You know, the ending seems a bit of a cop-out, but I will say, like, some of the emotion did get to me because of, I think the actor who's playing Dr. Mbenga is actually quite good. And,
Babs.
You know, Babs. What a great name.
Yeah, that's a great name. Obviously, I'm saying Babs because there's no way in hell I'm even going to attempt to pronounce his surname, but Babs will do.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll hear it eventually, and then we'll be able to do it. But
yeah, too many vowels for my my puny brain.
Babs is good. Babs is a good name.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I have no problems with the performances. Like, I think he's actually very good in this episode. I really love when a show like this gets to elevate some of characters who have felt like B characters up until now.
Oh,
and I think that does it for him here. I think Hemmer feels a little elevated. Not obviously up to a main character, but he feels like he got a lot more out of this episode than he's had done up until now. So, and it was kind of fun, like, waiting for... Because some of them don't show up till quite late in the episode. You're like, okay, we're not even really... I mean, Spock was there as Spock earlier on, but we've not seen Spock in this world yet. We've not seen, you know, Una in this world
also,
yet. She's quite late. So that stuff's quite fun. And it almost made me wonder, like, at some point, is there going to be, like, someone who we weren't expecting to see show up, potentially, you know? I wasn't sure. Like, where's C.L.S. Kirk? Where's he?
Oh, yeah.
He should have been in this.
Where's George? No, not George. Sam. George is his father.
Yeah, Sam Kirk.
Although I think he's also named George. I think he's George Samuel Kirk, but he goes by Sam.
Although, speaking of brothers, they mentioned at one point in the book that this is all coming from, that Spock was like the evil brother of two, and I thought there was going to be like a good Spock that showed up at some point. It never happened. I was expecting like
No, he's Hemmer's brother.
Oh, is he Hemmer's brother?
In the story.
Ah, okay.
Because they're both sorcerers.
I see.
Just different kinds. Yeah.
I was expecting like Spock in like a white robe to show up at some point.
Oh no, wait. They did say that his. No. I think that's right. Yeah.
You're probably right. Yeah.
Because they said, "Oh, your brother's in prison, and we'll rescue him." But they were talking about Hemmer, not a different guy. Okay.
Yeah,
I figured it out.
Not who they teased last episode.
Who did they tease last episode? Oh yeah,
Spock's brother.
Spock's actual brother.
Goes by the name of Cyborg.
Oh yeah, I forgot. We have to close. That'll be the finale.
Nah, I think that'll be next week. Someone pointed out in the comments, I thought this was an astute observation, is because they only showed him from behind and there's no one been announced that's been cast as him, it's probably a season 2 thing.
If it just turns around and it's just Ethan Peck.
Oh, that'd be funny, actually. Do you know what? See, that could be like the Get Out, is that maybe they're just going to have Ethan Peck play both characters. I don't think they will, but they could do that. That'd be funny.
No, they shouldn't, because they have different mothers.
Precisely.
Yeah.
So they could... Yeah.
I wonder who they could do. I don't know.
I mean... Like, I get that it would ruin the seriousness of it, but, like, I'm just throwing... I was going to throw Tommy Wiseau in the title, but here you go, Matt Berry.
Matt Berry would be a great Cyborg.
I think Matt Berry, because he would look like Spock, who's maybe like let himself go a bit. He's a bit chubbier, right? So yeah. It's the idea that, no, unlike Spock, he's not disciplined. He just eats a lot of cake. So he's like...
a lot of plummy cake.
I could put this idea. I love the idea of him walking out of the bridge just saying, "Hi there, my brother." I mean,
he's so charismatic. You could see him leading, a group of people to God.
See, now what I want is that after, because they've renewed what we do in the Shadows now for another 2 seasons, I want after season 6, I want them to technically cancel it now and replace it with the same cast but doing a Star Trek show. I want Nandor as the captain. I want
Nadja.
Nadja is maybe the first officer, and then you give Matt Berry like the science officer role.
She'd
or something.
be a hilarious Troy though if you made her to.
I could see her doing like
she's so mystical already,
Yeah, but I can kind of see the captain like saying, "Oh, what are you getting from Nadja?" It's like, I don't care. He's angry or something. So figure out yourself. I can see a lot of that happening. What we do in the stars.
I love it. Make it happen. FX, Paramount.
Yes.
It's the merger we need.
We don't even have to have real Star Trek. You could just, do Galaxy Quest style, where you just, it's clearly Star Trek, but it's not, or Orville, I guess, is the other one.
Use this, Callister. Oh, yeah, or that other show.
Yeah. People like that one. So
people do like that one. I may give it a chance one day.
The USS Staten Island. Yes. I might well listen to Existence now because it's perfect.
Like, there's a lot of stars out there. Wouldn't that mess with them?
Well,
they wouldn't be
vampires. I'm not like, they wouldn't be vampires in this scenario.
Okay, so they're not Captain Nandor and First Officer Talia.
I think they'd have different.
Nadja.
They'd have different names and they wouldn't be vampires, but they'd still effectively have the same personalities. That's the pitch I'm giving you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Matt Berry for Cybok.
Yeah. Yes, Matt Berry for Cybok in this show. Yes, I'm in support. I mean, it would be amazing if it happened. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I did say that there would probably been a light-hearted episode, and I know obviously it gets a bit more emotional at the end, but like when this like got to like the costumes, I was like, okay, this makes sense, because I expected one more light-hearted episode before, but it's probably going to be a couple of serious episodes to wrap up the season. Yep. So from a season pacing perspective, this is perfect placement for it.
Yeah.
So that's good too.
I like this one more than last week's, actually.
I think I do too, or at least objectively, I would say I think it's a better episode than last week's, but I still think there's some problems with it. I still think this week's and last week's are probably the two weakest as a pair, for different reasons, but mainly it's just how they kind of wrap up this daughter storyline, and I think it's kind of like squandered a little bit, I guess. Maybe that's a harsh word, but it does feel a little squandered.
It was just, we don't really know too much about him as a character, but he had this one thing, and now that thing's gone. So, but like you said, I mean, there's effectively he's lost a child. Still, he failed to find a cure. In a way, he didn't, but he didn't do it the way that he wanted to where he would have his daughter grow up with him. And she named the entity Debbie after her mother, meaning maybe his wife is gone. I don't know if I knew that already or not.
I think it's implied because he's a single parent, but
yeah.
Although it was actually Deborah. I love that you made it a bit more like
Debbie.
Yeah, you're gonna get more casual. Deborah's too formal. We're going more friendly with it.
Hi, I'm Debbie the Nebula. How do you want your hair done today? Okay.
Well, I think that's the perfect point to wrap up on there. Is that
Sure.
impression? But yes, by all means, let us know what you think of the episode in the comments. Like and subscribe, ding the bell for notifications, all that stuff. You can get us on the Twitters at @mail_fuzz for channel updates. Of course, you can support us financially by hitting the super thanks button on YouTube, or going over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv and supporting us over there for as little as $1 per month and getting some bonuses for your trouble. But any and all help and support is appreciated. So thank you very much for joining us. Keep watching Star Trek. And somewhere out there,
Matt Berry.
Matt Berry
Cybok.
Somewhere out there, Matt Berry is talking about how he's already had sex with Debbie, the Nebula, because that's the kind of like random sex like story he would tell on that show. Well, not in this show, on what we do in the shadows. Like I get that whole like 5 minutes.
It's getting so messy.
That whole 5-minute segment was like meant nothing to anyone who's not seen what we do in the shadows. So apologies for that. We'll keep it on topic next week. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time. Bye, guys.